Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Hi,
And
Panos.
this is Pam, this is Panos, and we've agreed to have a conversation to explore what inner experience is about, as opposed to external experience, given the fact that most people are familiar of modifying or having any such experience within by modifying the environment which they're in. So you go on holiday, so what is that? You change your environment and then you have an inner experience, and that's how you value being on holiday. And so we want to do the opposite now. Go exploring the inner environment and see what's possible there directly without having to incorporate external circumstances. So, and then perhaps we will draw some conclusions at the end, but for now we're going to start like that. So good morning. And so what I'd like to suggest is, if I were to ask you right now, what are you aware of? What is mostly in your awareness? What are you aware of the most right now? Let's start there.
I'm aware that it's a bit cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to keep warm.
Yep.
I'm aware of this conversation that we're having.
Okay.
I'm aware of the language, speaking, the tone, the words.
Okay. So again, we're going to move in stages, right? So when you say cold, what is cold? Your feet, your legs, your abdomen, your chest, your back, your face? Where's the cold felt the most?
Okay, so currently I feel the cold on my arms.
On your arms. Okay, cool. So therefore, the point of this question was to identify, hang on, it's not cold overall, it's cold mostly here. Okay. And
Yeah.
so we're moving from a general statement, I feel cold, to actually I feel cold around my arms. Okay, so we're going to more and more specifics, and this is the point of the conversation, to come to as specific description as possible. So, so if I were to say to you, if you look at your hand, right, you put your hand in front of you, say, okay, here's my hand. You can see the hand ends at a certain point, and next to the finger is space. So you can see this is me, this is not me. Okay, clear? Is that a clear? Okay. So now what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you let your hand be relaxed as you sitting there, just let your hand be completely, and then close your eyes for a minute and see if you can answer this question. And the question is, can you tell where your hand ends and where space begins, but keep your hand completely relaxed, don't move anything?
No, at some point it disappears.
Right. Okay, come back. So open your eyes, come back. Okay, so now when you look at your hand, you say, this is me, this is not me. You close your eyes, and this was a little bit of a trick what we played on you now, which was what? By giving you a task which requires attention, go and find out, is there a where's the boundary between finger and space? You have to pay attention. Where is this damn boundary? We gave your brain a task, right? We said, go and find the boundary. And the brain stopped thinking and put all its attention on sensing. So again, I'm saying it, perhaps you want to share your experience. Did your mind go quiet while you were sensing?
Yeah, so what I found is that I had to pay a lot of attention to my hand to figure out where my hand was. And at some point you stopped feeling your hand and you couldn't sense where the boundary was. Initially, when you start, you still feel, and you still know what it is, but after a while it stops. Right? It's just quiet.
What was the level or the intensity of thinking while you were trying to find out where your hand has gone?
It was the level of intensity. I think it was I felt quite stressful in the beginning because you're wanting an answer, but then everything goes quiet and then it becomes easier.
Okay. So for anybody listening to this is a very important point, right? Because the way the brain is designed is you have to give it a task. If you say to it, be quiet, it says, okay, I'm quiet, now what? It doesn't know. But if you say, go and find out, where's the boundary between finger and space? Suddenly there's a task at hand. The brain pays attention, the thinking, becomes quiet. I will demonstrate this in a different way. This is not precise science, but to give you an idea of what I'm saying. So just watch my eyes, okay? If I'm going to move my eyes left to right, you may be able to see, I don't know if the picture is clear, but the eyes jump. They go jump, 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 jump. I'm doing it again. Okay, I don't know if it's, is it? Now watch what happens if I'm tracking. Same thing from left to right, but now I'm looking at my thumb. Completely smooth movement.
Yeah.
So that demonstrates that the algorithms, if you like, that determine the tracking of the muscles of the eye are designed for tracking, not for scanning. Scanning, they can jump. Tracking, they can be as smooth as anything. This is just to demonstrate a very simple idea of, okay, when I'm tracking, the movement is smooth. If I'm scanning, it's jumpy. In a similar way, right? In a similar way, just to have a simile in mind, okay, if I give my mind a task, it will be focused. The thinking brain will become silent because it has a task which requires sensing. So this is a fundamental, people who are interested in meditation in particular, this is a fundamental requirement. You give your brain a task. Don't just stand there and wait for it to be quiet. Of course, there's merit in that. We're starting off on this foot to explore the way we're exploring today. So the first thing was, okay, hang on. My self-image, therefore, is very specific when my eyes are open, because this is my hand, this is not my hand. As soon as the eyes close, and there's a little bit of mental silence as I'm trying to find out where's the general boundary of my body, suddenly the boundary disappears. And if I then look, not physically look, but perceive, right? Suddenly, I find myself disappearing except for a few highlights. Maybe the tips of the finger, maybe my shoulder, maybe my butt sitting on the chair or whatever it is. There are specific highlights of experience, and then the rest is just spaciousness. Okay? So then I'm going to ask you to do the same thing this time when you close your eyes, not only trying to find the boundary of your finger and space, but what you regard as your whole body and space. Try and find what happens if you find the boundary between body and space. What happens? Okay, so close your eyes and then see what happens as far as
this is a little bit more challenging because there's a lot of different parts to focus on.
Okay. So the first thing you may notice is that in order to focus on the whole body, your attention has to be diffuse as opposed to being focused on a particular point, which is one up from what we did before. So it's a diffuse type of attention.
So it gets parts of it and other parts you can still feel.
Right.
And then it disappears and you can feel other parts. And so it's, you can't, I find it difficult at the moment to get the entire body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Into experience, so right?
It's not as easy, just the hand.
Exactly. And so the key about this, call it exercise or example, is that instead of having a focused attention, I'm looking for the boundary here, I have to diffuse my attention and try and keep the whole thing in mind. And then it starts to, as you call it, move. You know, I'm paying attention to my shoulder. Oh, wait a minute, let me see. And so it comes and goes. But now let's take this a little bit, one step further and say, okay, hang on a minute. Who am I then? Am I this thing that I can see with my eyes and it's bounded, it's got specific boundaries, or am I the experience that exists when the eyes are closed? And then, if you don't mind, just in your mind, formulate some way of describing the difference of your self-image of who you are. when your eyes are open, say, ah, this is me, this is Pam, as opposed to eyes are closed and then you get this different experience. How would you describe the two?
Let me try.
Okay.
When I see the hand, it's easier to identify with Pam. But when you close your eyes, it's not as easy. It sort of blurs and then it becomes silent.
Yeah. And so suddenly
it's not as easy.
Yeah. So if you were going, oh, okay, hang on. Where could this be useful, first of all? Right? So if in any life situation, we're trying to make some sense out of this, right? Where your self-image is being, I don't know, threatened or uncomfortable or whatever it is. Well, at least now there's the option, as soon as the eyes close and the self-image changes, that may give you a gap. You go, wait a minute, I got this self-image, it got challenged. Here suddenly I got a different self-image, which is more broad, more nebulous, more spacious. Oh, perhaps this self-image cannot be challenged in the same way. Okay, so what we've established so far is that if the eyes are open and one sees one's hand, for example, you know, this is me, this is not me. Eyes closed, look for the boundary between hand and space, it becomes nebulous, and then there's absolute gaps. There are highlights of experience, but then there are empty space all around. And that creates a focus. The attention goes to see the boundary in the fingertip. But if you say, okay, fine, let me see the boundary as a whole, from what you've said, and true for me too, the attention kind of seems to move. And so this diffuse type of attention, not looking for something specific, has another quality to it. It's very difficult. In fact, in some, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, in India, they say, if you keep your eyes unfocused, it's very difficult to get angry. So they have some images of certain religious images where the front of the face is covered like this. So you can only see with the corner of your eyes. It's actually impossible to get angry if you look at, so again, in another practical environment in the martial arts world, what they call soft eyes is a very good technique to keep your senses available around you rather than focused on one thing. And then your reaction times vary. So there's some practical aspects to this, but for now, we're making a distinction between focused inner awareness and diffuse inner awareness, okay? Okay, so now, can you think of something that you would like, which you don't have, right? Go on holiday, another pair of shoes, a Ferrari, what, I don't know what you like, okay? Can you think of something like that? Like choose something that you would like to have that you don't. Yeah, something that you would really like. Oh, I'd like to have a whatever.
Okay.
Something you can talk about, right? Okay, so what would it be?
To go on holiday.
Fantastic. So let's go on that one, okay? So now, obviously, you're looking at me on the screen and we're talking. But when you say, hey, I want to go on holiday, obviously in your mind, you have some idea, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where would you like to go on holiday, ideally? No money problems. You got all the money in the world, all the time in the world. You can choose. You want to go to the moon, you go to the moon. Where would you like to go?
I want to go to Antarctica.
Fantastic. Okay, excellent. Now, notice, we're going to do this in steps, right? As you say Antarctica, your face lit up.
Yep.
Okay, Antarctica, as opposed to, I want to go to Kailicha. I don't think so, you know. So Antarctica sounds like a good idea, right? Okay, so when you say I want to go to Antarctica, where specifically would you be in Antarctica if you were there now?
Where would I be?
Yeah, to make it a perfect holiday.
On a ship.
Oh, excellent. And if you're standing, I assume standing or sitting, I don't know where you are on the ship, which part of the ship are you in as you think about it? Are you in your room? Are you on deck? Outside.
On the deck, yeah.
On the deck. And which way are you
Yes,
facing? Excellent. Which way are you facing?
Towards the sea.
Okay, great. And what do you see when you look out to the sea?
I see the icebergs.
Fantastic. And what color are they?
This whitish color.
Okay.
That's the glare of the sun.
Be as specific as you can. White is a very broad term. Is it white, blue, white, green,
Yes.
white, what?
So
what kind
it's
of white?
it's this whitish with the glare of the sun. So you can't really distinguish it. So it's sort of glittery.
Okay. So it's got that kind of bright reflective quality to it. Okay. What else can you experience? Can you smell the sea air?
I can smell the fresh air.
Right. Okay, so the air smells fresh. Can you feel the temperature on your skin standing on deck looking out to the ice?
Yes, and the slight breeze.
And the slight breeze, fantastic. And what do you hear when you see that and feel that?
I hear the water.
Okay. So every time you answered these questions, first of all, you didn't hesitate a moment. It was like boom, right? You actually left the room. In other words, you were not looking at the phone and your room anymore. You were in this other place in order for you to be able to respond and say, well, I see the water. Suddenly you're not looking at me, you're looking at the water. I feel the breeze. Your eyes went like this, you felt, okay? And so you've made so many transitions between an inner world and an outer world. And there, I'm saying it, but you can confirm, was it difficult for you to report on these events?
No, I think it was more the direction of the questions that allowed you to think in a certain way to bring it together.
So remember, we had two types of attention: focused attention, diffuse attention, right? So these questions were reasonably focused. What do you see? I see the icebergs. What do they look like? Well, they're white, but they got glare. You can see them, not see them. The sun is reflecting. If I were to say to you what time of day it is, what time of day would it be?
It would be morning.
Morning, okay? And then you describe the temperature, you describe there's water, obviously, because you're on deck. You're not inside your cabin, you're out on deck looking at the sea, at the icebergs, okay? You describe the temperature, you describe there's fresh air and all the rest of it. All of that seemed to emerge almost effortlessly. Is that a fair statement? Can I say that? Would you say so? Or did you say, oh, now I'm going to really struggle to create this image in my mind? Boop, it popped up, right?
Yeah, it was fairly effortless.
Okay. So if I were to say to you, at this point, as we are now thinking about this holiday in Antarctica, as you're thinking about it now, on a scale of 10, how intense is your experience of having that experience being in Antarctica?
I would say 8.
8, fantastic. So what would it take for you to make it a 9?
What would it take? The actual holding of the railing.
Okay.
The more the tangible, I suppose, where it is, you would be able to feel the floor of the deck, the chill in the air.
Right.
People around you that would be with you.
So far, you've given 2 indications. The one is I want a stronger kinesthetic experience. So now this is you describing to us what you regard as more real, okay? And that is hanging onto the railing, feet on the ground. These are kinesthetic feedback experiences. Agreed?
And taking a video of what I see.
Let's not forget the video. Okay. So, but it's very interesting because suddenly we've turned the tables and now you are directing the direction where this is going. When we started, I said, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel, etc.? And I said, okay, now you take over. You say, okay, fine. First thing I want to make the experience of holding the railing more strong. Okay, okay, I'm holding the railing. And then I want to feel my feet on the ground. Boom, suddenly the feet are on the ground. Then there's someone recording and there's people around you. So now you've taken over the directing of this experience or this movie, if you like. Okay?
Yeah.
So then as you realize, hey, I'm hanging on to this railing and my feet are on the ground. What kind of shoes are you wearing?
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
I didn't think about the shoes.
Well, interesting. But again, as I'm asking, as you responding, as you're starting to, as it were, wake up in the dream of being in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Right? If you compare it when we began to now, I would hazard a guess, and you can please confirm, is that suddenly Antarctica seems more real right now than it did 5 minutes ago.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more vivid and it's more in my attention as it was. Yeah, it wasn't there previously.
So now here's another strange thing. It is possible as humans as we are to have dual attention. You're talking to me at the same time you're in Antarctica. And very importantly, being in Antarctica in your mind makes, I assume, please confirm, the feeling of talking to me on Zoom right now feel somehow more interesting because you're sitting on a deck on a ship in Antarctica and talking to me. It's very different if you were sitting in a basement somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So suddenly there's proof, if I can use the word loosely, proof that, okay, depending what I have in my inner awareness, my outer awareness gets affected.
It does. For one, I've forgotten that my arms are cold.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's taken my attention away from that.
So even physiologically, not just emotionally, in other words, there's a let's call it a benefit for now. We'll see, because it can work the other way, right? If you're imagining something scary, you'll be more scared than, okay. But for now, we're going for the pleasant, right? And so what we've seen, and it was first of all effortless. All I did was to look at this, taste that, smell that, direct your attention initially. Then I stood back. I said, you decide. Okay, boom. You said, I want to hang on to the railings. I want to feel the floor. I want the video going. I want people with me. Suddenly it was your movie. Okay. How difficult was it to do that?
It wasn't difficult at all.
Yeah.
It was quite easy.
Yeah. And I might add another little word that I like. It was natural. There was no some weird, crazy things going. It was like natural. We're just talking and boom, the next thing you're there. Now, because of your...
It was quite easy to do.
Because of your physiology and medical background, right? I would say, and you tell me what you think, would it be true for us to say, therefore, if we took a blood sample from you in the beginning of the conversation, and we took a blood sample from you after the being in Antarctica so far as we are, there would be some physiological changes. There will be some hormonal changes. Oh, a bit of excitement, a bit of endorphins, a bit of oxytocin, maybe, whatever, right? So wait a minute. This is like mind over matter in a way. Without pushing it too far, for the sake of the conversation we're having, it seems obvious to say, hey, hang on a minute. If I take a moment, just literally a moment, to access something that I regard as important, going to Antarctica, and then I've been playing a surrogate role here. I'm like the midwife, as it were, doing what? Directing your attention. And as I directed your attention, the vividness of the experience became more until you took over. And it was very interesting when you said, it almost sounded, although you didn't say it up front, I'm ready now to take over my own movie. And I said, okay, go for it. So, okay, I want my hands on the railing and I want my feet on the ground and I want the video. And so you kind of like, you were ready to go for it. Okay.
Yeah.
In that moment, you had an Antarctica state of mind. Is that fair enough? So now I'm going to ask you to access the feeling of what it's like being in Antarctica. So just take a moment and put your hand on the railing, put your feet on the ground. The video is running. There are people around you doing what they're doing. You're seeing the beautiful sea. You're seeing the icebergs, the sun blazing, fresh air, the sound of the water. You there?
It's a very peaceful and serene setting. It's very calming to be there.
Okay, so now I'm going to keep your eyes closed. I'm going to direct your attention one more time. I want you to identify where the feeling of peaceful and serene is in your body right now.
It's here.
Great. So take a moment and just experience the feeling.
It feels really amazing.
Yeah, isn't it just? Now, if you just open your eyes and come back for a moment, right? What I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to try and show you, and you can do it any way you like. You know, if you've seen any Buddhist paintings, you will see the Buddha is always with the eyes half closed. It's never like this, and it's never like this. It's always. So I'm going to ask you to keep your eyes in any way you like, so that your attention is consciously divided between paying attention to me on the outside, at the same time being aware of that feeling in your body of calm and peaceful. And I'm going to ask you to use your eyelids as the regulation mechanism. If your eyes are like this, it means you're all out. If your eyes are like this, you're all in. I want you to find what is appropriate for you to keep the feeling while still talking to me.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay? The key here is not so much the eyes, but the ability of keep a dual awareness. Keeping your inner landscape as your primary feeling reference experience, whereas the environment around you is secondary. Okay, that's the purpose of this exercise. Okay, I'm keeping my inner state as my reality, and I'm keeping the outer world as something like a video game I can play with.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to do initially.
Agreed. So remember, we're moving. I mean, if this was a course, we would have a whole session for each one of these steps. We're kind of running through them now, okay? But nevertheless, let me ask you a couple of questions now. If I were to play devil's advocate and say, you know what, I'm going to give you $1 million, or even $1 million, what's it, Bitcoin? Woo, that's a lot of money, right? And then I get the feeling, that feeling of calm and peace. You never have it again for the rest of your life, but you get the money. What would you say? Would you take the money, or will you keep the feeling?
I'd keep the feeling.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're playing a game, right? But the point that I'm trying to make is suddenly the feeling has value. Even though we're playing a game, it really has value. Okay. Try another thing. Put yourself back on the deck in Antarctica, holding on and doing everything, and remove the feeling. Would you be wanting to go to Antarctica?
No.
No.
It's just a place.
There's nothing. Wow, hang on a minute. Now, if you were to pick up, I assume you're talking to me on the phone, you said, if you were to pick up your phone and go and stand in a different room in your house, or go and stand outside, or go and stand in the street, where would the feeling be? Would you lose the feeling if you moved your body around in space? You can re-access it, but wherever your body is, there's the feeling.
Yeah.
Agreed? So actually...
Because it's inside.
Exactly. So actually, if one were to be like, wait a minute, I never thought of it this way, but if you think about it carefully, you probably come, I'm making the conclusion on your behalf. Please agree or disagree, all right? The conclusion is this. Wow. If I can take this example of the Antarctica experience and recognize the only reason I want to go there is for me to recapture this feeling of peace and relaxation and all that. And the only way that I've thought so far is that I can only have this feeling, in other words, give myself permission to have this feeling, is if I pay money, get on a boat, spend 3 weeks on the water, up and down, see waves, get seasick, whatever, until eventually I can stand there and be, I'm so peaceful. But the irony is, the feeling is in you right now.
Yeah.
And it took us 5 minutes, if you excuse all the backwards and forwards feedback and all that, to access the feeling. Oh,
You can't take it anywhere.
right. So now I'm going to keep quiet for a while. I'm going to ask you to reflect on what we've done so far, and just give me your take on what just happened, of what we've covered so far. How would you put it in your own words?
I would say it's accessing a part of experiencing that I would have never done or never thought of doing, in terms of directing the attention and focusing on specific questions in order to invoke those feelings or those emotions. So it's in a way directing you to a specific point in order to experience, but it's a way that I would have never done it. It's me thinking how to do it to yourself, kind of thing.
Right.
Which is quite difficult to do.
Well, wait, I'm going to jump in for this moment, right? It seems difficult if you don't know the keystrokes. You know, if you have a keyboard, a computer, a laptop, and you don't know the first thing about how it works, I mean, everything is magic. I don't know what to do. Somebody who knows how the computer works, I said, no, hang on, Control, Alt, Delete, boom. This happens, that happens. You press this, that. Oh, you think this is easy. And so it's not about difficult. It's about knowing what to press. Okay. And so the process that we've gone through so far, and again, as I said, normally this would be a session for each step that we've done. But why not? We're doing it fast. What's wrong? You know, we're doing it. It's happening. Okay. So let me recapture or re-summarize what we've done. We said, okay, fine. We started off, I'm here, you there, we're talking on Zoom. Fantastic. Then I said to you, okay, let's find out what it's like to have an inner experience. Stick your hand out, relax completely. What's happening? Inner focused attention. Suddenly your self-image changed. That opens up the window to go, well, hang on a minute. If I can be physical Pam with my eyes open, and I can be this other dreamlike Pam with my eyes closed, it creates a preconditions for you to enter into the mental world more easily. Then the next step was, okay, I've got this focused attention, which gives me a certain experience of self-image. Now try and get the whole body. And then you find, wow, wait a minute, this is very flexible. It ain't a body anymore. It's more like a thing, a space or something. Okay, then we put that aside. We said, fine, let's now pick something you like. You like, not what I like. Antarctica. Who would have thought? From Durban going to Antarctica. I mean, you know. Right. Next thing, you're on the boat and you're describing it in detail. Now, initially, I suggested, what do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? And so on. We went through the senses. And then once I saw you kind of got the hang of it, I said, you take over. And you said, okay, great. I got my hands on the railing, my foot on the floor, the video is running, my friends are around me. Happiness. Wow, you think this is so cool being in Antarctica. Then I said, okay, now that we've got this going, see where the real value of the experience lies, and it lies in the feeling. And then you took a moment and you said, wow, it's like so peaceful, and it's so, oh, what a relief to be here. You know, it's such a great, wow, what an amazing thing. And then you realize, hang on a minute, what just happened here? I'm sitting at home. How the hell do I give myself permission to have the Antarctica feeling? Wait a minute, what game is this? Okay. And the feeling was real in as much as, and again, for the audience, Pam has got a anatomy physiology background, okay? And so she understands hormones and all that kind of stuff. And so one could say, my God, by fiddling with my mind, I've altered my physiology. Whoa, what? In terms of well-being, in terms of health, in terms of every possible benefit. But even more so, the feeling itself, as you demonstrated, has value. And we play this money with Bitcoin and dollars. It has value. It's like, wait a minute, this is the feeling that makes my life, I'm saying, confirm, worth living. My God, when I have that feeling, suddenly everybody's friendly. When I look at people, I don't get irritated with them because I'm in such a cool place. I'm saying, okay? The opposite is also true. Let's play the game. So this was a taste of heaven. Okay?
Yeah.
In your case, it happens to be in Antarctica. Knock yourself out, whatever you want. Okay? Let's play another game. Oh, by the way, one last thing I want to say is that whatever you said so far has come out of yourself. I didn't say you must go to Antarctica. You said it. I said, what do you see? You told me icebergs. What do you feel? The clean air, etc. So it was your movie. I had nothing to do with it. Just asking the questions was my part. Okay. Now let's flip the coin and go, you know what, Pam? What kind of person would never fulfill their dream of going to Antarctica?
What person?
Yeah, what kind of person will never be able to fulfill their dream of going for an Antarctica holiday?
One that doesn't have money.
Right. And what kind of person doesn't have money?
One that doesn't work.
Okay. And what would you call such a person?
Mm. um, hmm.
It's heavy, right? It's heavy going. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Just humor me for a little bit, all right? Just for a moment. And I want you to find a word in whatever language of your preference that has the most impact emotionally about a person who doesn't work, who doesn't have money. Just find one word to describe that person in a way that impacts on you emotionally. What would you call such a person?
I think the word that would come to me is sad.
Sad.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, watch what happens. If you keep this word sad in that way in your mind,
Yeah.
what kind of movie runs in your mind? Do you see a person in your mind? Is there somebody there that you can see that looks sad that way?
Yeah, it comes down to someone on the street, homeless.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a
Now,
very happy picture.
and how do you feel when you see that movie?
It's quite depressing.
Okay. Show in your body,
Quite
where is this feeling of depression? Where do you feel the feeling of depression as you describe it? Where do you feel it?
It's in the same place where the feeling of happiness was, and the feeling of calm.
How is it
It's
different?
just really,
How is it different? What's the difference?
it's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's weighing me down.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, it's just not a nice feeling.
Okay. So now I'm going to quickly summarize. Through a series of steps, we had a wonderful experience, peaceful, calm Antarctica heaven. Now we're going the opposite way. We're going towards where hell is. Hell is this feeling for you. But here's a surprise. If you were to pay attention completely on this heavy feeling that you said, which is weighing you down, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you, you know what, Pam? If it's weighing you down, I want you to follow it down. But before you go there, you may want to go in a little spaceship of your own. Don't go there unprepared. Like if you go into space, you need to be in a spacesuit. If you go into the water, you need a swimsuit, oxygen. So in whichever way down feels to you, create a spacesuit that you can be safe going down, wherever down is for you. Okay, you've done that in your mind? Fantastic. Now I want you to follow this heavy depressive feeling downward wherever it takes you, and then tell us what happens. So eyes closed, back into the feeling, going down, and give me feedback as you're going.
It's going down to being dirty, torn clothing,
Yep.
Dirty fingers,
Mm-hmm.
hands are dirty,
Yep.
clothes are old and scraggly.
And as you see those images, where's the feeling in your body?
It's a sinking feeling going lower and lower.
Exactly. So follow the sinking feeling lower and lower. Follow the feeling.
It's gotten to my knees, going lower.
Okay.
Towards my feet, where it's just weighing me down. It can't even move.
Okay. You go as low as this feeling will take you. You say to the feeling, you take me where I can go. You take me to the bottom of the earth. I'm with you. And be prepared. In your special space suit, you can follow the feeling everywhere. Where does it go next?
It's like pulling me into the ground.
Into the ground. Go into the ground with it. Let it take you wherever it wants to go.
It's that feeling of just being stuck there.
Okay. Is it stuck at a particular point or does it go further?
It's just stuck.
Okay. So how deep in the ground are you when you feel stuck?
Like halfway to my legs, just below my knees.
Okay. Now I want you to find the feeling of stuckness in your body. Okay. And say to it in your mind, just as it were, talk to it and say, you know what? Hello, I don't know who you are. Could you please tell me what am I supposed to learn from you? What is your purpose? You've brought me to this place. What am I supposed to know here? Yeah, sorry, go on.
I've asked a question. I'm waiting for a response.
The response may not come in words. It may come in the feeling changing somehow or in some other way. So if the feeling changes in any way, you let me know.
The feeling relaxes or it eases.
Wonderful.
I don't feel as constricted anymore.
Wonderful. That's called feedback. The feeling is responding kinesthetically, okay? It's that kind of feeling. It responds in feelings, not in words. So as you feel this relaxing feeling, what happens next?
My feet that was stuck in the ground seem to loosen.
Right. Put all your attention on that. Say, thank you so much. Please show me more.
I can now move my feet around, even though it's still in the ground. I can actually now remove my feet from the ground.
Okay. And what is the feeling now? How do you feel now? Find a word for it.
I feel more at ease now because it's like overcoming something. It's that feeling of like success or being able to do something.
Excellent.
It's not helpless.
Fantastic.
I think it's that word of helplessness that's changed.
Right. So from helplessness, you're going into some other dimension, all right? What word would you call for this new feeling? From helplessness to what?
I think I would go with resourceful.
Wonderful. Resourcefulness. Let this feeling expand further. Say, gee, wow, thank you so much. Show me more. What else can you show me?
I can see happy people again.
Wow.
I can see a blue sky, warm weather, where it's now become a state of more peace and more happy.
Okay. So far, you seem to be describing a bit of a cycle. It was easy to go to Antarctica and have that feeling, and it was more difficult to go to this sad feeling because the sad feeling seemed to be threatening. But as soon as you, through, again, being trusting, it's wonderful, I said, go and follow the feeling. You did. and you did whatever preparation you needed, and you went to a place which seemed like almost being buried in the ground, which ain't pleasant. And then instead of running away from that, I said, no, ask the feeling. Listen, you brought me here. What is the lesson? And then the feeling started saying, oh, thank goodness she's paying attention for a change. Let me show you. And it went from being stuck into being able to move. From being able to move, the helplessness lifted. There was resourcefulness. The next thing, you were rising, moving. Other people. So suddenly, there was a transition made possible through simple observation.
Yeah. What's interesting was that state of being stuck is you just like, it's very it's a place where you don't want to be, and it's like my throat clammed up, like your body constricts.
But I would hazard a guess, check if this is true, right? I think, my opinion is that for you being the kind of person you are, if someone really, really wants to force you to be paying attention to something, they have to pin you down and make you stuck. So that Pam will now pay attention. She's not going to be distracted anymore. And all I did, if you remember, is to say, but hang on, now that you're properly stuck, we've got nowhere to go, your attention is properly fixed, properly focused, actually. Okay. I said, you know what, why don't you ask this feeling? Okay, you brought me here, what's the lesson? So all you did is acknowledge the feeling, I'm stuck. My attention is completely focused. I've got nothing else to think about. What now? And then the feeling says, well, thank you very much. Now that I've got your attention, watch this. And suddenly, I would say there was free energy, actually. Because from a place of stuck, everything started moving without you doing anything even. It started unfolding. And first there was movement, and then the movie changed. And suddenly, oh, wow. So if we were to reflect on this process so far, right, we started off externally focused, internally focused, diffuse. Then we had an inner landscape, being in Antarctica, hanging onto the rail, feet on the ground, great feeling, realizing, oh, it's the feeling actually, not the place that makes it valuable. Okay, so I got this great feeling. Okay. Then we put that aside. We started off the other way around. Through some funny questions that I asked you, you accessed this feeling of sad. And then there was a movie spontaneously projected in your mind, right? Or some person, you know, in a certain way, living on the streets and blah, blah, blah. As you watched that movie, the feeling of sad became more. Now, most people, I'm pausing here for a second, most people, when they get to watching that movie and feeling that feeling, they become paralyzed. Or they start fighting. Oh, I'm bigger than this. I'm stronger than this. I'm going to overcome this. They start fighting with the thing. The suggestion here, well, no, don't fight it. Go with it. What? Go with it? It's going to take me into the ground. Well, no problem. Be prepared. Bring a spacesuit with so you can go into the ground. And sure enough, you did. And you came to a place where you were physically stuck, which can't be very pleasant. It's like being buried alive type thing, right? Okay, fine. In that moment, the key question was, hey, feeling, thank you so much for capturing my attention so beautifully. People spend years meditating to become so focused. Here, I've done it in a minute. Wow, this is awesome. Okay. So as far as meditation quality goes, you don't get better focus than that. Okay. We're not going to go into technical terms, I said, so I'm keeping my own promise. But in terms of meditation quality, this was pretty high. Complete focus, man. I'm so stuck. I'm fully here. Right. In that meditative state, the question was, now what? And then the feeling, when now that I've got your attention, watch this. Boof. It expanded. Things happened. People saw new opportunity. I mean, a whole new world emerged, right? So now, if I were to ask you, what we've been doing so far, apart from you looking at me through the phone, where did all of this happen?
Inside me.
Okay, that's fair enough for now. Inside me, that's fair enough for now. Compared to your daily life experience, right? Is this something that happens to you often? Like you spend, I don't know, we've been talking for probably an hour. Do you find yourself spending a half an hour or 5 minutes or an hour completely immersed in being in Antarctica, being underground, having all these feelings and all that? Or is it something that doesn't happen for you often?
I wouldn't say often. It's sometimes when I think about it,
okay,
and sometimes when you imagine being somewhere else or doing something else, or how something could be different.
right,
So it's not practiced a lot, I would say,
okay,
but something that happens like daydreaming, for instance.
okay. And again, you live in Joburg, terribly sorry, where things happen at a certain pace, people are, demanding in a certain way. It's pretty much outward focused, okay?
Yes.
I'm guessing. And so is it fair for me to say, therefore, that, you know what? My life experience would be radically different if I could access the Antarctica feeling and the sad feeling at will and maintain that inner experience while I'm interacting with my world outside. Would there be some value in that?
Yeah, there would be.
There
It
would be.
changes the way you react to things,
Yeah,
and how you respond.
yeah. Again, in my world, which is dealing with people on a daily basis, what I know is that as long as I feel comfortable being in the stuck place, in your case, right, I then can know how to get other people out of being stuck. Because why? I've been stuck. I've asked the feeling, if I can put it in those words. The feeling responded. I know if it's true for me, it's true for you, it's true for everyone. So it takes away the fear of being stuck. It could be any other horrible word, stuck, depressed, whatever crazy idea. If you've been to, and again, we didn't push this too hard, right? It was done within a certain limit. We can go much worse. There's Dante's hell waiting if you want to go and visit. Okay, so hell can be an interesting place if you want to go exploring, but for our purposes, you had an experience of, wow, man, I was really almost buried in the ground, stuck. Well, every time I have to speak to somebody who seems to be stuck in their way, wow, I've been to hell and back. I know exactly how to help them, I'm saying. So there's tremendous value on a practical level, whether it's in business or education or whatever, relationships, the same thing, right? When people interact, things go bad when the one is having a nightmare and don't realize, well, this is an internal experience I'm having and I'm projecting onto you outside. Okay. And generally the person on the other end feels insulted. How dare you project this shit on me? Okay. And then things go sideways. And so there's a lot of benefits to having the awareness of what just happened. Okay. If I can be in that place when I'm really stuck, when I've got no way out and I've got nothing to do, if I simply allow myself to go into that, something happens. This is a fundamental bit of knowledge for anybody watching this video at some point to go, wow, I got stuck at the stuck point. I didn't give myself permission to go beyond it, where this amazing new thing happens. So the last question that I want to ask is, I said to you, where are you having this experience? You said, I'm having it internally. That's a good observation. Fantastic. Can I ask you another question now? So I don't know how you're going to do this. I'm going to leave it up to you. I want to ask you to keep Antarctica and being stuck in the ground, both movies, in your mind at the same time. Now, I don't know which is going to be left, which is going to be right, up, down, how you're going to do it. Just arrange it so that it works for you. You must, and keep your eyes closed. That's a good plan. When you are ready, just raise your hand so I know you're ready. You want to be able to see both movies at the same time. Okay. Now, as you are seeing both of them, I assume your attention is diffuse. It can't be focused because you're either looking at the one or the other. I'm saying look at both. So you kind of like soft eyes, okay, diffused. In that state of attention, when you're seeing heaven and hell together, what are you looking at these two images as? Who do you become such that you are able to see heaven and hell at the same time? What are you now?
It's like stepping back from it or stepping away from it and looking at it.
As you step back and look at it, how would you describe who you are in terms of you being that which is capable of seeing heaven and hell at once?
It's like I'm aware of it, and it's those images are separate from whatever's thinking of it?
So by
Or
definition,
looking at.
therefore, exactly, those images are separate from that which is looking. And that which is looking, I'm saying, please test this, is that in which those images have arisen in. So there's a kind of, I'm using the word loosely here, there's a kind of, it feels like
a big bubble, if I can explain it.
Yes.
Then there's two smaller pieces of bubble within it.
Excellent.
And then within the same bubble, there's a third piece that's looking at it.
Right. The third piece that's looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you even describe? Can you even describe it?
It's
not easy, hey?
No.
No.
It's like you're aware of it, but it's
exactly.
It's there, but it's not there, kind of thing.
Yes. In traditional context, what you are talking about is called enlightenment. Whoa, what? No, it can't be that simple, surely. Yes, because this is my words, my interpretation. It's for you to scrutinize and respond, right? What happens is something, which you call Pam or myself or me or whatever it is, suddenly becomes aware of the fact that that which is aware of everything cannot be seen by the thing that says, I am Pam or I am Panos. It's there, but it's not there. If it wasn't there, nothing would exist. And there's a weird relationship that develops because now I'm aware of, I can have the physical experience with my eyes open. I can have the internal experience, which can be wonderful, it can be horrible. At the end of the day, they're the same because it's the feeling that interprets them as such. Then I have two feelings held at once. And then I realize, hang on a minute, I'm neither of these things because I can see them. Oh, wait a minute. As long as my attention is diffuse, I don't have to associate with anything. So the one last thing that remains is, I am watching these things. And in that moment, as you say, I am watching these things, it becomes clear to you that even this idea of I am watching is being perceived by something greater, which is impossible to see. In that moment, the individuality, the ego, the self, the person goes, oh my God. Now I'm using my words. There's this consciousness in which I have arisen. And there's a shift in perspective between I am the primary knower to, oh, no. There's something that knows me too. And in that moment, there's a kind of an adjustment of who I am and what my significance in the world is. And traditionally, people call that an enlightenment experience or a satori, if you like.
It's interesting to get to that point where you know something is beyond what you know.
Yes.
And that you're watching.
Yeah. So again, depending on one's own cultural and other predispositions, having had that experience, it would be very nice if you're interested to take a moment and write down, make some sketches, make some, capture some ideas. And the reason I'm saying that is that if you don't do that, and I hope you can, in a week or so, it will be like a vague memory. You know, Panos and I, we had this conversation. It was very interesting. I don't know, we did some stuff. I can't even remember. So I don't know if you've seen this picture of a dream catcher, you know, this American dream catcher thing? Looks like a spider's web, yeah? In the middle, you have a key experience, and then you get all this web. So it's useful, it's meaningful, actually, to create a kind of a mental map for yourself in terms of notes, diagrams, or whatever now, while the experience is fresh. So that when you reflect on it at another time, at least you know, you know what, how did we do this? Okay. Started with Antarctica, feet on the ground, hanging onto the railing. For me, that it was a kinesthetic. My primary inner sense is kinesthetic, strangely enough. As long as I feel my hands on the railing, I've crossed the border into the inner world. So if you want to know how do you become more lucid in your mental world, for you, it's grab the railing. That's it. Okay. Then we had the other experience. If I get frightened, if I find myself through life circumstances to be stuck, no problem. I've been here before. Hey, stuck, I'm here again. What's up this time? Next thing, stuck takes you to some other world. Oh, hell is not a problem. Okay? And then having had those two experiences, you step off completely into a space of, my God, there's this dimension of knowing. It's not even space anymore. We're beyond space and time. It's dimension of knowing. Oh, wow. And if one were to just simply rest there for a moment, allow one's ego sense to just take a breath, what a relief that would be.
It's getting to that point of accepting both sides of it, the happy and the sad, and looking at it together. Yes. and stepping away from it or stepping back from it.
Yeah. If you remember when we started, exactly, when we started, we said identification is the issue or the problem. Ooh, dare I say it, identification is the sin. Yeah. If you identify with something, you're a prisoner of that thing. If you disidentify with it, you're free. Freedom's called redemption, if you like, if you're interested in such things. Okay. The point is, okay. And all of that is available not only to you, but everybody all the time. And we just haven't been shown how to step there,
So the disidentification of it is just understanding that it's there, and you step away from it, looking at it.
Okay. Look, let's be more precise. If you were hooked up to a neurofeedback machine, biofeedback, neurofeedback, right? You could trigger the machine to give you a sound or in other words, a non-visual cue as to the state of mind you're in. In that way, you could train yourself. You could go and access the sad feeling, drop into the next level, deeper and deeper, stuck, totally stuck. Then ask the question, hello, stuck, I'm here, what's next? And then the stuck feeling would transform. And then your EEG and your blood pressure and all of that would change, and you would get feedback. So you could train your neurology to access those experiences on demand consciously. Okay? If someone puts you in an fMRI machine, it would even be more powerful, but that's expensive and difficult to do. So what did ancient people do? They had no money, they had nothing. So what do? They take a string, they put some beads on it, and they keep on moving the beads around to keep their attention focused. I mean, this is low-tech. At UCT, they actually did this experiment, what I'm describing now. They did a comparison between neurofeedback and physical counting of beads, and the results were 90% the same, pretty much the same. Okay, so the idea is, and what was my role in this conversation? To keep your attention moving. Instead of being stuck, I said, no, but ask the feeling what's next, and you moved. If I hadn't said it, you would have been stuck. So either you have a surrogate, an external person, asking the questions, or you can create a little feedback machine like a string of beads. So that as you go to the next beat, you remind yourself, move on, move on, move on, move on. And you move on to where? You move on to the space of knowing as opposed to having great experiences, which is fine, nothing wrong with it. So that becomes neural reinforcing, so that the neural networks, the neurons that fire together, wire together, right? So therefore, this neural reinforcing, which I'm suggesting you do now with writing and sketching and to create mental structures, okay, of association, becomes more available the more you use it. And as far as I'm concerned, the benefit, if I can put it in the most blunt way, is that in this process, it's going to be a little bit heavy what I'm going to say, is how we should, I hope everybody does, deal with the idea of death. Because, here's the dream of Antarctica fading away. Here's the dream of hell and stuck in the soil fading away. Here's the dream of myself fading away. What's left? Knowing remains. This is a little bit big what I'm saying. I'm conscious of what I'm saying, but I'm saying it anyway. I'm saying, wow, imagine if I could deal with the idea of death this way. And just to make sure that you understand what I'm saying, the people who research people dying, not near-death experiences, people dying properly, what they've discovered is the ones that die the best are the ones that die being able to dissociate from all the things that their attention was hooked on. So they dissolve into the beingness of the universe versus, oh, I'm hanging on to my friends or my dog or my car or whatever, and they rip themselves away. Okay, so we've covered a hell of a lot of ground from heaven to hell and beyond. But in today's world, COVID being on so many people's minds, I just thought we would just include this last little bit, which is really advanced stuff. Okay, dealing about death is not a simple thing. I'm just saying, wow, imagine if one would practice enough, in inverted commas, practice, so that when the moment of physical death happens, all the layers of identification just dissolve one by one, dissolve, 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 dissolve. And then what remains is the consciousness that were there before we were born, you know?
That's a tough one.
I understand. I understand, and I'm saying it consciously, but at the same time, if the process of dying to self, dying to all the ideas and associations that we hang on to, okay? All the loved ones, all the hated ones, all the this. I mean, if you want to be funny for a moment, the more rich a person is, the worse is their death, because they've got so much to lose. You know, I'm joking, okay? But the point is, okay. Because in today's society, death is a taboo. Nobody talks about it, okay? And I'm saying, well, why should it be like that? Why shouldn't it be a grand experience?
Something that I thought about while you made that joke was sometimes I find that people that don't have anything are the happiest people, because they don't know what they're missing or what they're losing or anything. So they've got nothing and they're happy with that. And you see it on their faces sometimes, and you see it in their expression. And I always look at that, and it amazes me, and I feel that sense of comfort just looking at them with the very little that they have, and they're happy with it.
Yeah. You see, again, I don't want to go into it now, but there's a person at UCT called Mark Soms. I mentioned to him, Mark Soms. He did some wonderful work to demonstrate that consciousness is not dependent on higher brain functions. It's right in the brainstem. And this is not a conversation for now, but for anybody who's watching this video, you can go and look him up. Mark Soms, University of Cape Town, UCT, consciousness studies. He's got stuff on YouTube, fascinating. So the point that you're making, I'm reinterpreting it to say, you know what? When the thinking brain is out of control, it goes and spoils the movie. On the other hand, if the thinking brain is fully online and conscious, then it's not Antarctica, it's the universe and beyond. And even such a terrible thing as being stuck in the ground turns out to be this amazing experience. And so, yes, I agree with you. Simple people have it good in that in their simplicity, they experience life in one way. But let's not underestimate the brilliant, intelligently magnificent, educated, untrained people. If such people would be trained, they would transform the world, because they would have the means and the ability to make things happen. Like our friend Elon wants to go to Mars, right? Well, it's not something sitting in a squatter camp that's going to go to Mars. Now, if that brain, if that ability recognizes, my God, my existence is the same as everybody else's, and what can I do for everyone? If that kind of mindset happens, you can imagine. So I'm saying yes on the one hand, on the other, let's get the clever people trained so that they can step into this other dimension.
Yeah. It's interesting.
First Pamela, then the world. Anyway, it's great fun. It's great. Any last comments, observations, anything that's on your mind? What was this like a closing argument?
It was interesting. Now, for me, it was interesting to see how you transform from one feeling into the other, that transition. But it's so easy to do, to go from good to bad and happy to sad. And it all happens at the same time. And you don't really, it's all internal, and the external environment remains the same. Yet you can change happy and sad internally. And you can do it just by thinking about it or the direction of the questions. So for me, that's interesting in terms of you can just basically switch it on and off. And it's to learn how to switch it on and off, which is something that I want to practice more and get better at. For me, it's not just doing the good or getting that happy feeling. Sometimes for me, it's that sad that makes me appreciate things more. The sad actually helps me. Yeah.
Yes. You know, what you've said now is very significant. I just want to pause this. It's so important what you're saying. In every single case, I've been doing this for about 25 years, okay? In every single case, when people go through an experience like you did, right? They come afterwards and say, actually, they say, the sad was far more fulfilling by going in it and out of it than just being happy in Antarctica. Every single person says what you've said.
Yeah. So sometimes for me, what happens is I'd rather be sad than be happy, and people can't understand why it's like helps me to be sad than to be happy all the time. Yeah.
Again, I'm using your words from what you said before. When you feel the feeling of sadness and stuck, it focuses your attention like nothing else. And I'm being serious. This is the meditation. People strive for years to achieve that. Okay. Now here comes that something that seems challenging. This is the problem. But if you remove the judgment, this is a bad feeling, and you go, but oh, this is an extremely focusing feeling. The sadness and the being stuck, you are solid, man. Your attention is 100%.
Yeah.
If you look at it that way, it has tremendous value.
I agree.
So anyway,
that feeling.
Yeah. Cool.
It's amazing.
So I hope you'll stay in touch and give me some feedback in the weeks to come. And yeah, let's continue the conversation if you like.
Yeah, so it was interesting for me. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the direction of the questioning to move or to transition across. And thank you for my holiday in Antarctica.
Well, you said, Lo Roman, now go and do something good with it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to stop the recording. Cheers for now.
Okay, cool.